Good Orderly Direction, Practical Tools of the Bible. I'm your host, Dr. Donnelly Snipes, and today we're talking about fasting from Matthew chapter 6. When you fast, do not look miserable as the hypocrites do to show others they are fasting. They've received their reward in full. That same theme again. Don't do it in order to get praise from other people, because if you do, then you know you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Instead, put oil on your head and wash your face so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to God who will reward you. So what does fasting mean besides not eating? It means abstaining. You can fast from addictions. You can fast from television. You can take a break from or eliminate from your life things that you like but aren't good for you. And what Jesus is saying is, okay, if you're going to do that, great. That's honest. That's earnestly following good orderly direction. But there's going to be an element that you have to endure distress because the human part of you wants it. It doesn't need it, but it wants it. And if you go around grumbling about you can't eat today or you can't watch TV or you had to give this up, that's not helpful. And that's not what Jesus wanted. That's not God, and good orderly direction says we don't need to be going around trying to get sympathy from others because we're miserable. We need to focus on directing our energies towards what's important and letting go of those things that are not necessary. Fasting also means giving up or delaying gratification in order to do what is right, which means doing it with a smile and an open heart, not begrudgingly expecting praise and gratitude. And sometimes we may have to put off things. I may have to put off going to the movie with my daughter, who's an adult now, in order to help a friend who needs to be driven to a doctor's appointment. Is that the first thing that would come to my mind? Oh, hey, let me just put off this fun thing so I can go do this other thing. No. But what is right is to help my friend get to the doctor, and my daughter and I can go to the movies at any time. And I'm not going to go to my friend's house and pick her up and be like, okay, you owe me big time for this. I'm going to show up with a smile and an open heart and be glad to serve and get it done. And then I can do my fun stuff later. How does fasting help us follow good orderly direction? Helps us recognize, it helps us think through what is the wisest choice for us in order to help us move towards our rich and meaningful life. And it encourages us to exercise patience. We can know that something is good for us or bad for us, but we can also exercise patience, and we don't just jump at everything. When we're fasting from something, we can take a full account of how does this really impact my life? I frequently encourage people to fast, to detox, whatever you want to call it, from social media, from the internet. Just turn it off for as long as you can. For some people, they can't go more than a day. For other people, they make a commitment to do it for a week. But during that time, their brain's not being flooded with all that extra stuff, so they can more clearly figure out how important is this really in my life. Endurance. Well, whenever you're giving up something you want or you're not getting something you want, it's not fun. Nobody argues with that. But we learn through our experience of giving it up that we can do it. We don't have to satisfy every desire at the very moment we have it, or sometimes even ever. We can endure the distress of our little internal temper tantrum of not getting our own way, and we can come out stronger. We're showing respect for ourselves and others when we get rid of things or avoid things or delay gratification for things that are not as important in our rich and meaningful life. So when we're fasting, we're saying, I'm putting this over here or getting rid of it altogether because this over here is more important. That's respectful. That shows a lot of respect for people, to people, that, hey, I'm willing to do this because I know it's what I need to do. Fasting can help with forgiveness, especially if you're fasting from anger. I know that's a weird one. It's an interesting experiment to try to fast for a day or a week from anger. And yes, anger is a natural emotion and you don't want to get rid of it, but you don't want to hold it and nurture it and carry it around with you everywhere like a blankie, okay? Anger is there to serve a purpose. So when people fast from anger, I encourage them when they feel angry, acknowledge it, and then figure out how to improve the next moment. What is that anger telling them, and what do they need to do to stay safe? And is it worth staying upset over? But it can be a really interesting experiment. Fasting helps us with earnestness. If you tell somebody, I'm going to give this up for 30 days or however long, then you're probably going to want to complete that. You're probably going to want to actually do it. So that earnestness is giving 100% and keeping your word. Fasting also helps us with compassion. When you give up something that you want, it feels uncomfortable, but that gives us compassion for people who have to give up things that they want as well in their recovery. It gives us compassion for people who are in unhealthy relationships and they get out of it, but they really want to get right back into another relationship because it's uncomfortable to be single. Okay, it gives us just a peek into what it might be like to be in their shoes. Not exactly the same by any means, but it helps us develop compassion because we've walked a little bit in their shoes. Fasting helps with truthfulness because once we've given up something and realized we really don't need it, then we know we really don't need it. And it can also help us be more selfless because when we're not focusing on that thing, we can focus on other people. If this channel helps you learn more about good orderly direction and discover ways to be more loving to yourself and others and deal with life on life's terms, please like and subscribe.